Hello, Lantern Road audience. It is time once again to travel with our Felix and his flying suitcase adventure. As I hope you remember, we spent some time studying China after his flying suitcase took him there with a narrow escape with the Great Wall of China. And as we studied Ming Dynasty China, we knew we would be traveling on when that project ended, and that is the case today. So our next chapter begins with Sophie finishing some homework. She was just about to turn off her mother's computer when she noticed a new email had just come in. She couldn't believe her eyes when she saw, regarding somewhere on the high seas, from Huayan to Sophie@gmail.com. Dearest Sophie, I could never in my wildest dreams have imagined just how big the Pacific Ocean is. Even the flying suitcase couldn't make it across. First, I ran out of provisions. Then, I got into a terrible storm and had to land on this freighter. The captain is super nice. He saved me from the seas and is taking me along as a passenger. At the moment, my suitcase is drying in the engine room, and we're sailing toward the Hawaiian Islands. I'll write again soon. Windy and wavy greetings from your one and only Felix. P.S. Isn't it amazing that I can send you emails from the middle of the ocean? Clearly, Felix hasn't sent very many emails because he is a traveling bunny. But here's a brief glimpse of what that email looked like on her mom's screen. Oh my goodness, that sure sounds scary, sighed Sophie. He's lucky he didn't end up in a hurricane. Just before spring break, when Sophie's family planned to go to the beach for vacation, another letter arrived from Felix. It seemed as though he'd already been traveling for ages, which wasn't surprising since the letter came from far away. This is a letter just for Sophie, 33 Elm Road, Mansfield, Ohio, USA. So once again, it is addressed to Sophie's home in Ohio, which I've mentioned before as Indiana's neighbor if you look on a map. And the envelope once again gives us clues about Felix's location. So I will show you the front. And I will show you the back in a moment. From your Felix, currently on the road between cactuses and pyramids in Mexico. Here's the back of the envelope. And there is a letter inside. Let's see what he has to say. Hola, Sophie. That's Spanish and means hello. That's what people speak here in Mexico, where we've decided to drop anchor. But Spanish is not the only language spoken here. There are lots of different indigenous languages spoken in Mexico, too. Many, many years ago, the native Mexicans built enormous pyramids here. I was at one of the pyramids at sunset, and it looked like a giant snake made of light was slithering down all the steps. It's true. Do you believe me? There are real snakes here too, and guess what else? Chocolate grows on trees in the jungle. Not in bars like Hershey bars, of course. Wouldn't it be great to have a cocoa tree like this at home? And Felix has drawn a cocoa bean tree, and he's drawn the process of taking cocoa beans on into chocolate. So I'm going to show that on the screen for a moment, and I'll read each step to you before I do. Big yellow fruits hang on the trunk of the cocoa tree. Cocoa beans are inside the fruits. They are fermented, roasted, and ground. Then they're mixed with butter, milk, and sugar to make chocolate. That's how it's done. So there's his tree with the yellow pods that have the cocoa beans inside, roasted after they're fermented, ground after they're roasted, and then mixed with milk and butter and sugar to make chocolate as we know it today. The desert is very different. Giant cactuses grow there, and would you believe it? A huge puff of wind slammed my suitcase right into one of those giant cactuses. I had to pull and tug as much as I could. That's how much those needles held on. But I finally made it, and now nothing is keeping me here anymore, which is why I'm headed home to you. See you soon, Felix. Dad, shouted Sophie, I've always thought that pyramids were only in Egypt. Dad told Sophie that different native Mexican tribes and other South American countries built tremendous cities with huge temples and palaces that still hold many mysteries. Can you imagine, said Dad, how the builders back then could calculate precisely how the setting sun would cast a shadow that looked like a snake sliding down the stairs? Sophie was amazed, but the good news was that Felix was coming home soon. She was sure he was already on his way. Then she had an idea. So here is the pyramid that Felix saw. This is called the Kukulkan pyramid. And you can see he's a little afraid of it. He's hiding behind this nearby statue as he sneaks a peek at the Kukulkan. This pyramid actually does have one day a year where the sun is just right with the way the pyramid is built, and it does appear as though there is a snake made of light sliding down the stairs. It is amazing that that math could be calculated all those hundreds, thousands of years ago, but it's probably not a mystery to any of you that have a Mexican heritage, because you probably already know if you have Inca or Mayan or Aztec heritage, they are pretty much the originators of most of the math we use today. It doesn't just come to us from ancient Egypt. A great amount of the calculus that high school students perform and take as a class comes from your ancestors if they happen to be of Mexican heritage. So that may not surprise you greatly, but it is still amazing that without calculators, internet, even something like a ruler, there was the ability and the mind power to calculate building a pyramid that would have this phenomenon take place once a year. And I want to show you the funny picture at the bottom of that page where Felix had described getting his suitcase stuck to a cactus. Just kind of a funny little picture of him. A little later, Lena shouted, "Mom, Sophie took all the money out of her piggy bank." "You tattletale," mumbled Sophie, and then she walked down the street to the flower market. She bought some beautiful cactuses and was very careful not to prick her fingers with the needles. When she got back home, she made a tiny clay Felix and took him out to the sandbox. She put the cactuses down and built a little pyramid. "Look, Lena, I've made the smallest Mexico in the world," Sophie said proudly. "If Felix has a little Mexico in his backyard, he won't have to go there again and he can come home." So here is her Kukulkan pyramid and her cactuses in her sandbox as Sophie plays with her little sister Lena, hoping that the tiny Mexico she made will keep Felix from traveling so far and so often. And here is the tiny clay Felix that she made too. He even has a suitcase. So how will I know that you know about Mexico as Felix's latest location? When you're done watching this video about this chapter, you're going to submit a photo of something red, green, and white. So make sure if you gather up red, green, and white things to take a photo, that you put them back when you're done. And the reason I ask that you get those 3 colored items in your photo is those are the colors of the Mexican flag. And that's how I know that you know all you need to know about Felix and Mexico.